pleased to present for your consideration.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Jabberbox Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Bond, and with me is the icy blues of the desert, Daniel Singleton. How's it going, Dan?
Oh, well, thank you for that compliment. That's very kind of you.
If you're joining in for the very first time, then you should know that this is a show about the two of us as we ramble on through pop culture topics, such as, but not limited to, games, movies, shows with some life topics, as well as wherever we see fit. Some housekeeping before we get to the show. You can get the show over on youtube.com/dandydigital or over on Spotify and iTunes by searching Jabberbox and hitting that subscribe button. If you like what you hear and you want to support us monetarily, head on over to patreon.com/dandydigital. If you do not have any bucks to toss our way, that's just dandy by us. With that, let's go ahead and get back into the show. This is one of the final shows, Dan, of E3. Yesterday we got to see Capcom. Today was mainly Nintendo, and then Bandai Namco was tossed in there for some good measure. So we'll kind of go ahead and jump in and talk about a little bit of what we had around Nintendo, since Nintendo was the bulk of the show. So first up, what we had for Capcom that I paid attention to, I would rate that essentially a D performance. Basically, to catch you up, because I don't know if you saw that or not. Did you?
No, I didn't catch that one. I knew it was going to be short, so.
Right. So essentially, they showed off Resident Evil 8 Village, which has been out for a month or two. People are really digging it. And they had a Resident Evil show back in April. So they kind of blew their load super early before E3 for some reason. The only thing that they said about Resident Evil Village was, hey, this game has been so popular. Everybody's really enjoying it. Everybody wants DLC. We're going to make the DLC. And then they moved on from there. Nothing else happens for Resident Evil in the showcase. They moved on from there. They talked about Monster Hunter Stories 2. Monster Hunter is not really a game that I play. It's very difficult, but the people that, it has a loyal fan base for sure. But they showed off Monster Hunter Stories 2. They moved on from there to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, talking about, hey, here's the great, Ace Attorney. This is actually his ancestor in early ass Japan, essentially, and he was also an attorney.
Like feudal Japan, or
not quite. It's more like after that, where things were moving on. The trailer showcased his ancestor actually going to England, like Britain, or I believe it's Britain, like the UK or whatever. So he actually runs into a character that is Sherlock Holmes, but it's not Sherlock Holmes. They changed the name so they didn't have to actually say
it's Sherlock Sholmes.
I believe that's actually what it is.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I just sat there and laughed because every time they had to make a point, they snapped and pointed like that. Oh, you know what I mean? It's just kind of ridiculous. I'm not an Ace Attorney fan, but I know a lot of people are out there because it is a series that has been going on quite a while. Unfortunately, the trailer was overly long. There was a lot of times where the announcer talking about the game just kind of fell silent, and then we watched a clip of the game, which is generally fine, but it was a lot of talking. These games are a lot of talk, conversation.
It's narrative driven.
Exactly, because you're trying to figure it out. So there was barely, there's low music, and then they don't actually do voice acting, so it was just like reading text. You can hear it's like that was a lot, for a trailer for that length. After that,
I don't know if we can use this as a verb, but it sounds like they Guardian of the Galaxy that.
Almost, but at least Guardians of the Galaxy had some sort of jokes, had some sort of music to play, and so forth. Then they moved on to Monster Hunter Rise, and then they talked about Monster Hunter Stories again with an update. Why that was separated, I don't understand that. They should have just kept all Monster Hunter news together and played it out that way. overall for Capcom, it was pretty lackluster as far as a conference goes. It seems, like I said earlier, Capcom blew their Resident Evil load on the showcase back in April when they showcased that Resident Evil 4 was being remade for the Oculus, as well as further discussion on Village. And one of the things that was missing for Capcom was Mega Man. It's been a while since we've had a Mega Man or a Mega Man remake. I know that Nintendo had a lot of Mega Man stuff coming in, a couple years back when they did the collections for Mega Man 1 and 2, collections 1 and 2, and then Mega Man X collections 1 and 2. We could have done a remake, one of those HD 2, the HD 2.5D, whatever, done it that way. We could have gotten another Mega Man X game. We could have gotten a remake of, Mega Man Legends, anything like that. I think Mega Man should have made some sort of appearance in Capcom's conference.
I'd be down for a complete Mega Man just reboot from scratch instead of remastering or remaking or whatever. Just start it from square one again. I'd be willing.
Yeah, they definitely did that with Mega Man. I believe it was Mega Man 11. They kept it a 2D side scroller. They upgraded the graphics. It looked actually pretty good. They could have done that overhaul for the rest of the games, or like you said, as a reboot. So, like I said, pretty lackluster. So, moving on to today, Nintendo was the biggest thing for this morning. The Nintendo Direct showcase really set a solid momentum about what to expect from 2021, as well as some of the things to look forward moving on into 2022. The pacing of the show was done right, and it was something that I think that Square Enix Presents showcase could have definitely learned from that, since, as we saw yesterday, it was just kind of a mess overall, right? The highlight of the show for me was the reveal and the Treehouse Live gameplay of Metroid Dread. Did you get a chance to see that?
I did.
So
it looks really good, even though they're going back to, side-scrolling 2D style. It looks fun.
It looks beautiful. So what was really cool about that, and this is actually pretty surprising, as I'm such a huge fan of Zelda. You'd think that Zelda would have stolen the show just immediately, but the style, the feel, everything about the new Metroid game is something that just, knocked it out of the park. It really solidified as my main pick for the Nintendo Direct, knowing that this is the last entry in the trilogy that follows Metroid, Super Metroid on the SNES, and then the sequel to that was Metroid Fusion on the Game Boy Advance. So this is actually going to be the third game, which will come out on the Switch, that essentially wraps up Samus and her Metroid connection between those games. I really enjoyed the fluidity of her movements and the world that it's in. It just looks incredible, like you said, the way that it looked. And additionally, it's the first time we've gotten a 2D Metroid entry in almost 20 years. Right?
That is true. Yeah. So. And I feel like I didn't realize it at the time, because they had that pretty early in their presentation, if not the first thing, I believe, right? So
yeah,
in the grand, I didn't realize it as I was watching it, but as it went, it really stood out among all of the other games that they showcased today for Nintendo as well. Just for the simple fact that it's not right or wrong, it's just a decision that it seems like Nintendo has made to stay on I know this is kind of like a stereotype for Nintendo, but stay more on like the younger kid, quote unquote, games.
Right.
The more cartoony, the bright, the
family friendly, and that seems to be the exception, and it made it stand out even more through their presentation, was that it didn't fall into that category. Right. So everything about this game is very exciting. I'm very much looking forward to it. I am a little upset that I missed out on the pre-order of the special edition, which came with a 190-page art book, some holographic prints, the steel book. It looks like an awesome thing, and that kind of sold out almost immediately, just with the two amiibo where it shows Samus and one of the Emmy robots that kind of hunt you down Resident Evil 3 style with Nemesis, or I saw in the treehouse, you can shoot at them, you can blast rockets at them, or missiles or whatever, and they wouldn't stop. It wasn't until you upgraded your arm cannon into like an Omega level cannon where you get one shot and you can take them out that way, but then it resets your arm cannon. So you almost have to pick and choose when you're going to use that. It seems, I don't know, everything about it, like the atmosphere about it with the music and everything like that. I'm very excited about it. And that is definitely my pick for Nintendo's Direct.
Yeah, I think they led with their strongest game for sure.
Right.
It's what it felt like anyway.
And it's kind of like what Microsoft did, when they showcased Starfield in the beginning, and then they even tossed Halo out in the middle, whereas like that one more thing, as we were expecting, was going to be either one of those games. It was none of those games. They did, it's kind of cool to see a lot of people mix that up.
Yeah, that presentation from Microsoft a few days ago was really well put together.
Right. Chef's kiss. So Nintendo is going to be releasing the Metroid Dread game on October 8th, or as I like to call it, Bontober 8th. Hey now. Moving on, so Nintendo even showed off some actually other cool announcements that I was pretty excited about. We're going to be getting Cruise and Blast. Did you see that?
I did.
So
I don't know anything about it. I'll be honest. I'm not much of a Nintendo guy. I don't know if anyone listening can tell. I haven't been chiming in much on this. The last Nintendo system I owned technically it was a Wii, but I never really played it that much. The last one I owned and played a lot was the Super Nintendo system. Like it's been a minute since I've really invested anything into Nintendo.
Well, Cruise and Blast it's Cruisin' USA, Cruisin' World. It's the same type. So Cruise and Blast is going to be a 4-player arcade racer that is Cruisin' USA or Cruisin' World, and it's going to have 30 different tracks, and it's going to be coming out this fall. So it's going to be a pretty awesome arcade game for the Switch. So
definitely contrasted into a lot of the other racing games out there that are, they all shoot for hyper realism, and hey, if you run over a pebble, you're going to have to deal with that because your tire is going to be, screwed up, and you're going to have to get a new tire, or your gas mileage is going to be affected by the direction of the wind. It's like sometimes I just want to drive and crash into shit and have a good time.
Yeah.
Race a train.
Yeah, definitely this is going to be the arcade racer for sure to keep an eye on. Then they showed off Mario Golf, which has always been fun as far back as, the initial release of Mario Golf. This is actually coming out next week on June 25th. Going to have a number of game modes. You get your standard game mode, you get your adventure mode, but what I'm really excited about is the speed golf mode. So you can do up to 4 players, and it's like chaotic. You just hit the ball, and you have to try to be the first one to get your ball into the hole before anybody else to move on. That's how you score points. It just seems like a lot of fun. So I'm not sure if you could do 4 players online or 4 players like how they were doing it on the Treehouse Live. They had 2 Switch consoles. You had 2 players on each console, and that's how you did the 4 players. But it just looks insane, and they're going to have different types of characters on there that have different, stats and everything like that. So Mario Golf, especially the speed golf mode, is going to be something that I'm going to be playing like crazy.
That speed golf mode, that looks like something I would do at Top Golf.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But instead of just hitting it over and over again, you chase it, try to get it, into the hole.
Yeah, it does look entertaining, especially in a group or party setting. Not unlike Mario Party.
Right. Well, I mean, so speaking of Mario Party, right? This is actually going to be something.
Did you like that segue?
Yeah, I like that segue.
Yeah, that was smooth, wasn't it?
Yeah, that Dan way. You got the Mario Party Superstars, right? So this is something that is finally coming to the Nintendo Switch. The Switch was already out when they did a Mario Party Superstars for the 3DS, where it was like the top 100 best Mario Party games from Mario Party 1 to current. They up-resed it. So if you saw, the trailer or even the Treehouse Live, they actually compared the Nintendo 64 version of like Peach's Cake to the Switch version. loads better, as you would expect. That's going to be actually pretty cool. That's going to be something that I'd look into for sure. I did want to get it for the 3DS. I just never got around to it. One of the other games that I was very much looking forward to, if you play tactics games, is Advanced Wars 1 and 2. Did you get a chance to check that out?
I did watch that, and I played it. I played those games when they first came out way back.
Yeah,
and
on the Game Boy Advance.
I had completely forgotten that those games existed. Just completely out of my mind. They've been out of sight, out of mind for what, 20 years, probably?
Close to, yeah.
Or very near. I remember playing it in high school.
Yeah, and we're pushing 20 years on that one to date us, you know? So it looks really cool. It was, so they fully remade it from the ground up is what they were stating. So they chose to do the cartoony look. They chose to do the anime style, character designs when they're chatting amongst each other. It just looks like a lot of fun. And I'm a huge tactics fan. So I'm hoping that they do something similar to Final Fantasy Tactics and Tactics Advance. I would love to see that as a collection, like a 3-part, a 3-game collection. Bring that over to the Switch.
I think it's coming out as a 2-game collection.
Yeah, Advance Wars is. What I'm saying is for Final Fantasy Tactics.
Oh,
because a lot of people are remaking games, and they're doing it in the 2D, HD, or whatever, or they're completely remaking it in the style of as Advance Wars. I'd like to see other games look like that. So that's cool. That's one of my shortlist games as well for the Nintendo Switch coming out. Moving on from that. So another big one, as I stated on the beginning, being a Zelda fan, they also showed off the brand new trailer for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. This trailer got me excited. I'm very interested in it, even though I'm not a huge fan of Breath of the Wild. I do like how they're kind of changing it. The trailer showcases Link falling through the sky in the very beginning. That's very Skyward Sword-esque. It's very inspired. Many pieces of Hyrule now floating above the main land, and it's allowing Link to traverse in a really neat way with portals. You can kind of see that in the trailer as he kind of goes through like a blue portal in the bottom of the land, of the island, and he pops up on the top. It's also what I noticed as well watching it again is that Link has like some sort of weird, I don't want to say robotic arm, or he has something happening with his right hand, his right arm. It does look like it's metal, but I don't think it's metal. I think it's just part of what happens, what we saw in the first trailer. So in this current trailer, it shows him stopping like a bunch of spiked balls rolling down a hill, much like the Sheikah Slate can do in the first one. And then he was able to push it back. So he does like a temporary, like a time freeze, which is kind of like what happened in Skyward Sword as well. So it's kind of cool to see how they're implementing this remake game that they're doing for Skyward Sword into Breath of the Wild. It's very, like I said, very interesting. I'm really curious to see how it's going to play out. I know
when was the release date for that?
2022. So they said that they don't have any. They're planning for a 2022 release. I'm assuming it's going to be, holiday, and it's going to probably be released with a special edition Nintendo Switch, which is going to be Zelda, but it's going to be like the new rumored Nintendo Pro, quote unquote, with higher power. It's going to be a processor upgrade. It's going to be able to do like the 4K, dock. So when you play on TV, it's going to be 4K and stuff like that. So there's a lot of rumors going around that, and the way that they're pushing Zelda out. You're using the same assets as Breath of the Wild. So this game shouldn't take this long to come out, right? So there's a reason why you're delaying it so much. Yeah, it's a business decision, and it makes sense. Yeah, so I think it's going to be going hand in hand with the new system. It was actually pointed out to me that Link in the trailer could be a different Link than the one that you played in Breath of the Wild, and you may either switch between the two, or you go into like a future state almost, because how it shows Link, he has longer hair, he's got the metal arm, his outfits are a little bit different. But when you look at the original trailer for Breath of the Wild, it shows the same Link that you've played in Age of Calamity and Breath of the Wild. So there's a lot going on, and I don't know if it's like the time traveling Link like they've always wanted to have, and I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions, and it's actually pretty exciting for me. I like that kind of shit, you know?
Yeah, it opens up a lot of possibilities if they introduce time traveling Link, right?
Right.
And
it kind of did with Ocarina of Time. He time traveled 7 years. So,
that's true.
Yeah, we'll see how they implement that into Breath of the Wild. So,
one thing I think Nintendo did really awesome, and I thought it was awesome, and then I can't even remember the name of it, which goes to show you how much I follow Nintendo. But I thought it was really awesome that they have a game that they announced, and they said, "Oh, by the way, it's available right now. Go to our Nintendo store and check it out."
I think they actually had 2 of
Was it
those.
2? I only noticed 1.
Yeah. Let me see. I know they have the Tekken character coming out on the 28th, which is right around the corner.
Was that for? What was that for? Were they introducing it to
Super Smash Brothers?
Super Smash, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Where is it? Like I'm trying to look at my notes here and see, because
They
there
only
was
talked
one
about it for like 10 seconds, so I didn't even.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it. I just thought it was a cool, unique, because I didn't hear anybody else doing that all of E3.
Right.
Saying, "Hey, here's a game, and it's already available." So, continue thinking about us in the near future. It's just a smart business decision when everybody, not just Nintendo, but everybody is talking about, "Hey, we got these games coming out at the end of the month, end of the quarter, end of the year, next year." And then Nintendo steps in and goes, "Not only do we have all that, but we have something for you right now. So remember us." It's smart, and it's noted.
Yeah, for sure. I thought I wrote it down in my notes, but I must have missed it because I did hear that. Doom Eternal DLC was coming out today, but I don't think that's what you were talking about.
No, that's not what it was. It wasn't DLC or an expansion or anything. It was its own game. I should have written it down too. That's my own fault. But yes, Doom Eternal, the expansion came out. I think on all platforms. I haven't turned my Xbox on today, so.
Well, I'm turning on my Switch now, so let's find out what they have out right now, because there were 2 of them, and the DLC was one for sure.
Well, a little peek behind the scenes here at Dandy Digital. We're doing some live stream research.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, Doom: The Ancient Gods.
Yeah, that was a campaign expansion.
Yeah, and Strange Brigade. That was the other one that they.
Thank you.
That they came out with today.
Thank you.
So you can proceed.
Andy to the rescue. Huzzah.
Yeah, that looks like an interesting game for sure. So I don't know. I'll check it out. That was one that I did hear about, but things were moving too quickly. I couldn't catch up on all of that. So
yeah, most of what they were showing today was snippets.
Right.
I mean,
it was nice. It was like enough, meat without filling us up too much. It left us hungry for more, but didn't leave us wanting like some of the other ones.
They put length in where it was needed. Breath of the Wild 2, Metroid. Where people want it the most, they had extra content there, extra context, extra gameplay footage, all that jazz. And then for the smaller stuff, it was, here's 15 to 40 seconds on it, and we're going to move on because we know that you don't want to talk about the DLC pack for Doom Eternal. That's especially since it's not exclusive to Nintendo.
Right.
So we're going to give you that, but then we're also going to just move on to something that's ours that we know that you want to hear about.
Yeah, exactly. Like, much like, I mean, I don't want to get too far off it, but like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, they brought that to the Switch, but that's been out for the other consoles as well. as the remake. So one of the things I did want to mention, unfortunately, with all the cool news and stuff like that, one of my biggest disappointments with the Nintendo Direct was the Zelda, I believe it's 30th anniversary, 25th anniversary, something like, I think it's 30th anniversary.
35th, I thought.
35th, something like that. They didn't celebrate it in a meaningful way. The only thing they said was, we have no plans for anything coming out other than the Zelda Game & Watch, which is neat on its own, but it feels almost like an afterthought in that case. It comes with Zelda 1 and 2. It comes with Link's Awakening, the Game Boy version on there, and then it comes with a
it was some other game. It was some other game that was originally on the Game & Watch in the early 80s. I don't remember the name of it, but they changed out is it Vernon? They just changed out the character in there to look like Link, but it's the same game.
And I am actually seeing online that people are kind of like, what the hell in that regards, because they did have a Zelda Game & Watch. Why didn't you bring over that particular Zelda Game & Watch over to the Game & Watch remake for the anniversary? I don't know about too much of that. It looks cool. I'm looking forward to getting it, but it is something where it's like, you could have done more. You could have brought the 3DS version of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask over to the Switch. You know what I mean? You could have brought the ports that you remade with, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. That could have been brought over to the Switch, because I would like to play those again. It'd be awesome to have it on the Switch. It doesn't have to be super crazy. You could have just done something like that. So
I thought it looked kind of cool. I don't know if I'll get one, but it would be nice to, I have moments at work when I'm kind of bored. It'd be nice to have something like that with me.
Yeah.
It's because I don't always have cell phone service where I am. So, that would be a nice nostalgic throwback. I know we're only a few episodes deep, but I feel like those who are listening know that I really enjoy nostalgia. Right. I really enjoy reliving my youth. So
those classics,
I'll spend a few bucks for those old Zelda games. I remember very vividly. Those are some of my first games I ever played.
That's what got me into video games. The first Zelda on the NES, I was over at my dad's house and he's sitting there playing it. So that's what got me into it. So moving from there, they showed off the 20th anniversary of Monkey Ball, or Super Monkey Ball, which is pretty cool if you've ever played Monkey Ball. So Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. It's going to include the definitive remaster of Super Monkey Ball 1, Super Monkey Ball 2, and Super Monkey Ball Deluxe. Now, I played Monkey Ball here and there, but it was really on the GameCube that I really got into it, and was playing a lot of those. So that's actually pretty cool to see. So I'll check that out for sure. And then rounding out the conference for me anyway was Astria Ascending. So it looks like a game that was coming from the Xbox to the Nintendo Switch and also the PlayStation 5. The JRPG looks very similar to Dragon's Crown with the hand-drawn characters with those, thick thighs for sure. It's a turn-based game that has some of the writers from Final Fantasy, as well as some of the composers from Final Fantasy, mainly Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy VII Remake. And then it plays similar to Bravely Default, if you're aware of that, where you, instead of attacking every turn, you kind of do like a guard. In Bravely Default, I believe that was default, so it guarded it, but it allowed you to rack up points, so then you could just unload like 5 attacks at a time. This is going to be similar to that, where you stock up on focus points. So it actually looks really cool. I like the hand-drawn style of these games, so I'll look into it, see how difficult it is. Like, if it's like Dragon's Crown, where I just want to throw the console.
Oh, the good old days of angry youth gaming.
Right.
Throwing controllers and breaking TVs.
Angry video game nerds. But that was it for Nintendo. As far as, what I have here, the Fatal Frame remake, Danganronpa, stuff like that. They did talk about the wonderful Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
not my cup of tea.
We've pretty much already talked about that in another episode.
Yeah,
it wasn't specific to Nintendo, but it's all the same shit and looks boring.
Yeah, exactly. So that was it for the Nintendo Direct.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If you had to rewatch one of them in their entirety, would you rather rewatch Capcom or Square Enix?
Capcom was shorter. I'd rather watch Capcom.
No, that's a valid answer. I'm not going to fault you for that.
And Capcom, while it didn't have a whole lot going on for it, it had substance to it more than Square Enix did. You know, speaking of Square Enix, I did download the demo for that one that was supposed to be like a Dark Souls game. You know, with the chaos and all that. Yeah. So it was corrupted. The DLC or the download was corrupted. They finally fixed that, so it's actually downloading now. So I'll give that a shot, and I'll probably give my 2 cents on it on one of the future episodes here once I actually get a chance to play it.
They put that much effort into pushing it during their conference, and then the download is corrupted. That's awesome. Right. That experience, I think, sums up, for those that didn't get to watch, sums up their showcase in a couple sentences right there.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, it was so fucking crazy. I think there's actually a YouTube channel or a YouTube video that's out there where somebody counts how many times that guy says chaos. You know? So it's like a running total throughout the trailer. So I'm going to have to find that, and we'll see about sharing it or posting it on one of our
perfect
things.
Mockery.
Yeah, exactly. So that was it for Nintendo. What I would say for Nintendo's Direct that was missing was a proper Zelda anniversary package. Surprisingly, there was not another Mario game announced. I mean, they're bringing out Mario Party and Mario Golf, but there wasn't a mainline Mario game, which surprised me quite a bit once I sat down and looked at it. Another thing that was missing was any word for Bayonetta 3. We haven't really heard or seen anything from that since I think it was its original, title splash screen at E3 either last year or the year before that. So it's been kind of radio silent since that. Otherwise, aside from that, I mean, Nintendo Direct, it was a pretty good one. Like I was very excited about it. I think I was as much excited about Nintendo Direct as I was the Microsoft Bethesda conference. I think they both did it very well. While they didn't deliver a whole lot, they did deliver. So, take some notes, smaller shows here.
Yeah, from what I saw of it, I'd give it, if we were giving out like letter grades, I'd say Microsoft Bethesda was probably in a solid A range. Like they nailed it. Yeah. Nintendo was probably like a B plus, I'd say, in comparison to that. It wasn't overwhelming. It wasn't groundbreaking. But
it gave us a lot of what we wanted.
It gave us things we wanted. It may not be everything you wanted, but it delivered on some things, which is better than, half a loaf of bread is better than no loaf of bread.
Yeah. No, I get that. It's like, hey, we're still working on Zelda, but here's another trailer. Also, here's a Game & Watch. That's fucking cool. And then like, hey, Metroid Prime 4, we're still working on it, but here's Metroid Dread, and here's some amiibo for it. It's like, fuck yes. Like, we want to play Metroid Prime 4 and we want to play Breath of the Wild 2, but we're getting something else to hold us over. And they both look awesome in their own right, especially Metroid Dread. Like, I can't wait to play that.
Yeah, it does. Like we said, it looks entertaining. It looks good. Looks fun.
For sure. And then wrapping up the day, we had a special conference from Bandai Namco. Essentially, it was a Dark Pictures anthology House of Ashes interview. If you haven't seen that, are you familiar with the Dark Pictures anthology, Dan?
I am not.
Are you familiar with one of the hits from the PlayStation 4, Until Dawn?
I'll just stop you right there. No, not a PlayStation guy. Last PlayStation I owned was 2.
So these guys, they create these interactive thrillers, right? Until Dawn was a story-based, multiple choice action. It's almost like a Telltale game, but a lot more production was put into it. Until Dawn was a group of teenagers that went up to a snow lodge for a winter getaway. Things go south when they're being stalked by a killer and whatever is hanging out in the mountains. So it was very much like a teenage slasher film.
It sounds like Friday the 13th, the game.
Kind of. It was. I mean, it's kind of like Friday the 13th, where some teenagers are going off to the side to get frisky with each other, and then they find somebody's cell phone is ringing on the front porch, and then a window's broken and stuff like that, and your choices determine if you get these guys killed or not. It was very well done. I do recommend it even now. Today, if you haven't played Until Dawn, check out Until Dawn. These people, this developer, they created what they call the Dark Pictures Anthology. So every game is a new story. Same sort of concept. It's a horror-based thing. You start off with this guy telling you about these stories, and he kind of goads you into making right choices and this and that. The first one was Man of Medan, where it's taking place on a ghost ship. The second one, Little Hope, was taking place in Salem. So the witches were still a thing around, even in current day. And then now you have Dark Pictures Anthology, House of Ashes. It's the third game in the anthology, and it's going to follow a group of soldiers at the tail end of the Iraq War, where they are using some sort of technology to find some weapons underground. They're being pinged on their tech that they have that something's down there, like a temple of some sort. So they go, and then they get into a firefight with some Iraqi soldiers, and then an earthquake happens, and then like a sinkhole, like they just collapse underground. Once they're underground, they find out that they're in this weird hidden temple, and as they try to get out of the darkness, it's filled with creatures and other horror type underworld, phenomenons that are trying to kill them. So it's really well done, especially if you're playing with two players. So I played Man of Medan with my partner. We sat there and you kind of get like a certain amount of characters that you get to play, and then you kind of like go through your story, trying to make sure you don't kill your own characters, make sure you don't try to kill each other. It's really well done. I like it a lot. It's a lot of fun. So it was essentially just like a whole interview about what it is that they're trying to do with this game. So I think Supermassive is doing a really good job on that, and I want to see what else they have up their sleeve for the Dark Pictures Anthology.
It does sound like an interesting concept.
So
I'm very interested in playing that now, just based on your description. Maybe you should do an E3 conference.
That's kind of what we're doing here. But they do have it on for the PlayStation, the Xbox, I believe PC as well, so you can check that out. It's cool when you do. They actually have like a movie mode. So if you have a group of people, they'll assign characters to you, and then you just pass the controller around, and then you just, once it's your turn, you play as you want to play, and then it kind of just tailors the story and goes from there. I think when we played Man of Medan, I killed Mary, but she was like, "What the hell are you doing?" I was like, "Well, there was a giant creature coming at me." She's like, "That was me," So it's like these characters they were like breathing in this weird gas, and it was making them see things. So like, as we saw this giant creature with like gnarly teeth and crazy claws, it was her character like, "Hey, are you okay?" And they see that I'm freaking out, and then on my screen, I'm just trying like thinking I'm being attacked. So it's really cool, man. I really like these games, and that's coming out in October as well, which is what they did last year. They come around Halloween time.
Interesting. Well, and that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'll have to come over and play.
Yeah, it's very cool, man. I really dig it, and I do recommend it. So,
all right.
That's it for this episode of Jabberbox. Do you have any? What was your thoughts, Dan, on E3 overall? What was your favorite show? What was your least favorite show?
Oh, least favorite show was Square Enix all day long. That's too easy of a question. And like I've already said, probably a couple hundred times now. I think Xbox, Microsoft, Bethesda. I think that presentation was just aces.
Yeah, for sure. So, well. Like I said, that is this episode for Jabberbox. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that notification button, that like button, rate it as well, as it will help us grow an audience and grow this show into something bigger and better. Find us over on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Say hi to us by searching Dandy Digital. And until then, we will see you guys next time.
Absolutely. And I just want to take this opportunity to publicly pressure Andy into finally getting Demio. All right, everybody. See you next time.
I'll look into it. All right, cool, man. Let me go ahead and stop this recording.